Tonight's big stories. Typhoon Betty continues to make its presence felt in northern Luzon as it crosses over the waters east of Cagayan. Several LGUs are also extending their preparations to include rainfall from the southwest monsoon, which is expected in the next few days. We'll be speaking with Cagayan Governor Manuel Mamba about how the province is doing so far.
The suspect in the death of a 4-year-old child in Las Piñas, his own 15-year-old uncle, is believed by authorities to be a fan of violent video games and American serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer. The victim's decomposing body was found dead inside their washing machine. We'll get more details on that later on in the program.
Now, we've all heard about terrible flights, but this one might top all of those. One airplane passenger in South Korea opened the aircraft's emergency door mid-flight, violently blasting the interior with air and startling passengers and crew. The passenger has since been arrested and could face up to 10 years in prison. More of that later on.
Welcome to the show. I'm Gretchen Ho.
I'm Chicky Verhel.
And I'm Sean Yao.
Girls, walang ulan ng weekend.
Dito
Wala.
sa Metro Manila,
Oo.
pero iba ata ang usapan pagdating natin sa Regions 1 and 2 sa extreme northern Luzon and lalo na sa may Cagayan Valley region.
Meron mga nagagalit sa pag-asa eh. Kasi, di ba?
Sabi na nga natin yung last week eh.
Sinabi
Diba?
naman natin last week, mafe-feel
Oo.
natin mga Monday to Wednesday,
Oo.
di ba? Oo.
Actually, in fairness, ang ganda ng panahon ngayon, pero kinukwento nga kay Gretch before tayo mag-on air, kumakalampag yung door ng banyo ko this morning.
Malakas
Kasi mahangin.
yung hangin, oo.
Pero sobrang sunny.
Well, we are very grateful that the super typhoon has weakened into a typhoon, but Typhoon Betty is still lingering off Cagayan right now and the Batanes Islands. The feared super typhoon has significantly weakened, as mentioned, and it has come closer to land, though, and Betty's wind and rain is now being felt in several areas in northern Luzon.
Yes, so how are LGUs doing up north? Si Sean ata may alam nito.
Ito na nga, sa
Oo.
Ilocos Norte, yung mga fishermen are staying put for now until this inclement weather subsides. According to our news team who are on the ground, the province is currently experiencing rain showers every now and then, but nothing too extreme just yet. Then again, local disaster officials are reminding residents to not get complacent.
Huwag na muna maglaya kasi hindi natin alam kung ano yung pwedeng mangyari. Kasi very unpredictable nga itong si Betty at according sa sa pag-asa, yung gale warning natin is andyan pa.
Signal number 2 has been raised in Batanes and Cagayan, and Typhoon Betty has started to bring strong winds and big waves in Batanes. The provincial government says food packs have already been distributed to different municipalities. At least 2 towns have also imposed liquor bans to ensure the safety amid the typhoon. The province, however, is currently having problems with its power supply.
Mayroon lang ho kaming konting problema dito dahil yung aming supply ng fuel sa Napocor ay not stay dahil sa masamaang panahon. Kaya ho, brown out na ho kami dito from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Now, moving down south to Cebu, mayong gabi kaninyong tanan diha sa Sugbo, the province is also making efforts to prepare for monsoon rains apart from Typhoon Betty. Local disaster officials are now monitoring 15 flood-prone areas and 28 landslide-prone areas, which is a good move for LGUs over there as monsoon rains have been forecast to affect parts of the Visayas and southern Luzon in the coming days.
Pinaghahandaan natin ngayon dito sa Cebu because of the monsoon rain nga bagat. May mga malalakas na pag-uulan na mangyayari sa mga isolated sa mga LGU, pero we're just preparing pa yung pagbaha or either pagguho ng lupain sa mga critical area, sa hazard-prone areas. But actually yung mga DRR na to prepared na tungkol yan dyan.
And to talk to us about the situation in Cagayan, we have with us Governor Manuel Mamba. Good evening, Governor.
Yeah, good evening. Good evening to everyone and all our televiewers. Good evening po.
May Gov, signal number 2 na po dyan. Ano po ba ang sitwasyon natin ngayon?
Ang signal number 2 po namin is in the extreme northeast sa Cagayan and of course yung Calayan group of islands namin. So far, may pabugso-bugso din daw na kwan. Wala pa ring ulan dito sa mainland at may konting ulan daw sa Calayan area po, sa Babuyang.
Okay, just like what we're experiencing now, is it mostly wind? Yung dala po ng bagyong Betty at paano niyo po pinaghandaan yan?
Well, nag-red alert kami since Friday pa, no? Because it was introduced as a super typhoon. And God is good, no? Medyo lumihis sa amin. At the same time, humihina, no? We have some preemptive evacuation done in 3 towns, namely Calayan, Santa Ana, and Gonzaga, with about 400 plus people in different places. So far, po dito, walang ulan. No? I'm here in southern Cagayan, no? Southwest Cagayan. Since kaninang umaga, wala namang hangin, wala namang ulan. Pero doon sa extreme northeastern Cagayan, including the Babuyan, may konting hangin daw at doon sa Calayan, may konting ulan.
Alright, kumusta naman po, Governor Mamba, yung Cagayan River? Okay pa ba ang water level natin? At yung nababanggit nyo nga, yung part na nakakaranas talaga dyan sa extreme northeastern part ng inyong probinsya, marami po bang nakatira doon? Is it a heavily populated area?
Yeah, in some areas, no? Ayan, in some areas. Pero in Calayan, konti lang yung tao doon, no? And as far as Cagayan River is concerned, normal po ito ngayon, no? And Isabela, Vizcaya is not experiencing rains. Ang Magat Dam namin is at 173 meters. Ang critical nun is 193, so normal pa rin ito. In fact, below normal ng konti. So at this point in time, no, it's manageable. We have deployed our assets. At the same time, nakaantabay naman po kami all throughout the day. So nag-i-slow down siya, pero humihina din naman yung ating typhoon.
Gov, have the Pag-asa warnings and notices been helpful to you guys?
Yeah, of course. No, we suspended classes today, but we're now announcing, no, that there will be classes by tomorrow. Dahil wala namang inclement weather na nakuha kami sa mainland Cagayan, even in northeast, extreme northeast, no, although it's under typhoon signal number 2. Pero so far wala naman pong damages, wala naman pong talagang heavy rain or strong winds.
Alright, good to hear na okay po yung kalagayan nyo dyan sa Cagayan. We were expecting the worst, but we're glad that everything seems to be under control. Allow us po, since everything's okay there, to ask you on a different topic. Gov, narinig naman po natin, syempre, no, na strongly opposed kayo dun sa mga bagong EDCA sites na itatayo dyan sa Cagayan. Also, recently may report that quoted you as saying that you want to seek stronger cooperation with China. May delegation daw po ba? May delegation pa nga raw, Governor. Can you tell us more about this and what this was in relation to?
Well, I was invited, no? Noon pa, even pre-pandemic, we're asking China na if we are given a chance to visit because we want to study the poverty alleviation program, no? Baka may makopya naman kami doon. And it's so good, no? I brought a 14-member delegation with six mayors, no, including the mayor of the city of Tuguegarao. And I am so glad, no, we were given a time and a place, and of course I was also given a chance, no, to have a talk, no, in the China ASEAN forum on sustainable development, no? And yun na nga, I felt that neighbors should be together, neighbors should be one, no? And I felt that Asia is for Asians, and I am so glad, no, that they were so welcoming sa aming delegation, and we just came back from there, and we're so happy, no? And hopefully, no, we could establish sisterhood provinces in the area, no? Kasi okay naman sila, and of course, city sisterhood also with Tuguegarao City.
Okay, Gov, kayo pa po ba ay opposed pa rin dito sa EDCA sites? May nag-umpisa na po ba na pagtatayo nung EDCA sites po dyan?
Well, sa akin, it has always been the President's call. No? Wala naman akong kwan doon. No? But since it's already here and it tends to polarize our people, sabi ko, I'll rather drop the EDCA opposition. But we're always opposed to war. No? Ayaw namin at ayaw din namin ma-involve sa any war. And I am so glad that the President assured also China that this is only used for defensive purposes. And hopefully that is what it should be. No? And of course, in the long run, ang gusto natin ay walang mga foreign forces naman dito sa ating, hindi lang sa ating probinsya, but even in our country. And I think that is what also our neighbors would want for us to do. And furthermore, no, we see China and of course Northeast Asia could be the future, no, for us, especially here in the north. No, you know, Cagayan is very strategic because it is the northernmost part of Southeast Asia, and it could even be considered as part of Northeast Asia. And Northeast Asia is the economic boom now of the world because of the growth of China and of course Japan and Korea. So all of these things should fall into play. And I know for a fact that this is our time, especially in the north. And hopefully po, no, that we could establish all of these things that we would want because we have always been connected with them. No, we have a lot of Chinese communities here. We have a lot of intermarriages with Chinese here. Kahit ako nga, I suspect that I also have a Chinese blood kahit na napakaitim ko dahil dito mismo sa town namin, there's a Chinese elementary school here. No, and we have a lot of Chinese communities here. So sa akin, no, it's something to look forward to. And we have seen the growth of China. No? It happened in the last 39 years under, of course, Deng Xiaoping, Hu Jintao, and now Xi Jinping. No? It's a miracle that happened to the world. What America and Europe did for 200 years, they did it in 14 years. And it is so impressive, no, kung mapunta tayo doon. It is something to emulate, it is something to work for, and it is something that could be a best practices for any nation.
All right, thank you for weighing in on that with us and joining us tonight, Cagayan Governor Manuel Mamba. Mag-ingat po kayo. And as Typhoon Betty brings rains to northern Luzon, residents of Baguio City are dealing with a water supply shortage. Several Baguio residents have been complaining of the lack of water for a few weeks now. The reason? According to the Baguio Water District, the water supply in the city's reservoir has been limited. This is due to the water level in the Santo Tomas Rain Basin decreasing by 51.84% from January to May. But even before this, the local government of Baguio said that they have been struggling to keep up with the growing demand for water as the population of the city continues to grow. Baguio City's carrying capacity is at 243,000 people, but it now has a population of more than 300,000.
Yung sa urban carrying capacity study conducted by the NEDA talaga, we have reached yung water supply natin long before ng 2023. So matagal na nakulang talaga yung tubig ng city. So it is really a problem that we really have to address.
And what solution is the local government of Baguio looking at in order to provide more water for its residents? Let's bring in Elaine Fulgencio for the details. Go ahead, Elaine.
Sean, one of the solutions they are considering is the rehabilitation of the wastewater treatment facility. One official said that they will look into whether residents will accept the idea that wastewater will be recycled into potable water. Otherwise, water could still be used for household chores such as washing clothes or even cleaning cars. Another option being studied by the LGU is the sourcing of water from the rivers of neighboring provinces with abundant water resources. Residents are hopeful that the water problem in Baguio City will be resolved sooner than later. Sean?
Thanks for that, Elaine. Right, moving on to other news. The suspect in a hit-and-run accident or incident that left several Filipino cyclists injured in Kuwait has finally turned himself in to authorities. A group of cyclists, most of whom are Filipinos, were out for a bike ride along Kuwait's Gulf Road last Friday when an SUV hit them. At least 11 bikers were left injured on the road, while the driver of this SUV sped away after the incident. Some of the victims have already been discharged from the hospital after receiving treatment, while 2 are still in recovery. We got to talk to one of the victims about this incident, and here is what he had to say.
Mas safe yung buong grupo sabay-sabay. Mas madaling makita kasi pagka maraming cyclist sa kalsada. Shocking talaga ang nangyari.
Let's get more details on this hit-and-run incident. We have News 5 reporter Brian Basa for the latest. Brian, go ahead.
Cheeky investigations are underway as to why exactly the SUV driver hit the cyclists. But this is what we know so far, and foreign affairs officials have confirmed this does not appear to be a hate crime or an offshoot of the visa ban against newly hired Filipinos. For now, this is a road and a traffic issue. So there are calls now for Kuwaiti officials to reassess whether their roads are safe for all. Back to you.
Thanks, Brian. Girls, what do you have to say about this?
Actually, tama yung sinabi niya, yung one of the victims, sasakay ka talaga with a group, so you will be visible on the road. And yun yung reason nun, kaya grupo-grupo, para you will be sure not to be missed by any car.
Naalala niyo ba yung Mighty Ducks na movie? Naku, baka si Gretchen hindi na
Yung-
naman
alam mo yun,
parang
parang
yung formation, di ba? Ganun
formation.
din yung mga birds or yung mga chicken.
Yeah.
So, yung mga chicken sa amin dati, kasi may mga pusa, may aso, biglang magkukumpul yan sila. Wala, hindi na makapalag ngayon yun.
For safety.
Pero meron kasi talagang yung sadyang nanggigit-git.
Oo.
Kasi ayaw nila makakita ng siklista on the road. So that's why, we need to find out if it was a mechanical failure dun sa kotse o medyo sinadya.
What he was able to speed away, but I'm supposing now the investigation, since he turned himself in naman sa authorities, and dapat rin natin gawin yun pag may nabangga tayo. No? Huwag tayo nga alis na lang kasi lalaki lang yung gulo.
A reminder to keep safe on the road and respect everybody.
Ditto. Up next, guys, political drama has yet to leave the House of Representatives. Pampanga Congresswoman Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo issues more clarifications about being linked to an alleged ouster plot against the House Speaker. That and more when the big story returns. Keep it here on One News.
You're also watching the big story here on One News.
Let's head over, Sean and Gretchen, to politics this time. Former President and current Pampanga Representative Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo once again denied the allegations of her plan to oust House Speaker Martin Romualdez. In a statement, Arroyo refuted the report that was going around that she was duped by a congresswoman into thinking that the alleged House coup had the blessings of the First Lady. The former president also said that she was truly sorry that the First Lady should even be dragged into this political fantasy of a House coup. It is disrespectful to her and to her intelligence. Arroyo added that she had no motivation to take over the House leadership, as she in fact persuaded Marcos and Vice President Sara Duterte to team up in the 2022 elections, yung uni team. She also maintained that she did not talk to anyone, not locally, not abroad, to participate in or be involved in any plan to stage a coup in the House of Representatives.
Well, remember that after Congresswoman Arroyo got demoted at the House, Vice President Sara Duterte, a close ally of Arroyo, also resigned from the Lakas CMD party. The Vice President cited political toxicity and power play as her reasons for exiting. House Speaker Martin Romualdez is currently the president of Lakas CMD. Now, despite the shakeup at the lower house, it seems all is well between President Bongbong Marcos and Vice President Sara Duterte, who were both present in an event. Let's get more details on that. We have with us Marian Enriquez. Marian?
Yes, Gretchen, despite the ongoing issue in the House of Representatives, President Bongbong Marcos and Vice President Sara Duterte showcased that the unity team remains solid. The President and Vice President were together at the grand launching of the new pier in Liloan, Cebu over the weekend. House Speaker Martin Romualdez was also present at the event. Marcos even described himself as the official BFF and #1 fan of VP Sara. The President even looked back at the 2022 campaign and shared how he and Duterte usually laughed together. Gretchen.
Thank you very much, Marian Enriquez. Yun pala, no? May pag-affirm naman pala.
Oo.
BFF.
Ang daming pictures na lumalabas.
Moving on to the upper house, where senators are fast-tracking deliberations on the proposed Maharlika Investment Fund, which has been certified as urgent by President Marcos. The Senate recorded complete attendance in today's session as lawmakers rush to tackle priority bills, including the MIF, before June 2, when Congress is set to adjourn for a 2-month break. That's this coming Friday. Before today's plenary session, members of the majority bloc met to discuss their agenda. Senate Majority Leader Joel Villanueva assures that proposals will still be scrutinized thoroughly until Wednesday. But among those who expressed reservation for the MIF is presidential sister, Senator Amy Marcos, who believes that the fund's purpose should still be clarified. She says it should also be clear where the government will source funding for the measure, noting that current funds are not enough for such investments. Senator Marcos also believes that passing the bill should not be rushed.
Ako, kung sakasakaling minamadali, hindi ako papayag kasi malaking pera yan, mababaon ang ating mga anak at hindi dapat minamadali yung ganyan. At ang balita ko, pati yung DOF, may pinapasok pang amendment.
Last Friday, bago tayo nag-weekend, nakausap nga natin na si Minority Leader Coco Pimentel. Sabi niya na categorically no, no amendment, just a flat-out no. But we also all know na dalawa lang ang members ng minorya. Siya lamang at saka si Senator Risa Ontiveros.
Oo, sabi nga niya, di ba, na talagang ayaw niya ito dahil no one's gonna take accountability for this also. Kasi sabi niya, pwede naman nilang sabihin, business, investment, nag-fail, sorry. Parang
well, some
na lang.
senators from the majority party are singing a different tune, like Senator Amy Marcos, Senator Chis Escudero, yun din. Pero sinasabi naman ni Senator Joel, teka, 3 months na natin pinag-uusapan to. Hindi naman na rush. Oo. Pero may special session sila sa Thursday.
Yun nga, pero kasi kung titignan mo, di ba, minsan nga kulang pa yung 3 months sa pag-discuss ng isang bill, especially a bill as controversial as this. Pero since sinertify siya as urgent, di wala silang choice. Kasi nakalagay na siya sa priority.
Tsaka iba na nga daw, sabi ni Coco Pimentel, Senator Coco Pimentel, sabi niya na iba na nga daw yung itsura nito compared sa original proposal. So that's his point na rushed ito.
Alright, mukhang marami nga ang may opinion about this. Let's hear about what other members of the Senate majority had to say about this specific topic of the MIF. Camille Samonte joins us. Camille, what did they say?
Sean, Majority Floor Leader Joel Villanueva says concerns over the MIF are mainly related to the proposed funding. He says some senators are looking to make amendments to the proposal, like making it voluntary for GOCCs to participate. He clarifies that senators are still supportive of the measure, but majority are not in favor of using state pension funds. Villanueva admits that the bill is still a work in progress, but notes that it cannot be described as rushed because they have been tackling the measure for 3 months now. Sean?
Right, thanks for that, Camille Samonte. Right, moving on to this other topic. 2 weeks after Exorcist priest Father Winston Cabading was arrested for offending religious feelings, the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines, or CBCP, is now admitting its shortcomings for this court case. CBCP President Pablo Virgilio David says that the CBCP is, quote, begging for forgiveness for this shortcoming, stressing that this causes scandal to the faithful. The church leader also admits being perplexed by this legal battle. Retired Justice Harriet Demetriou filed a case against Cabading after he supposedly made offensive remarks against Our Lady Mary Mediatrix of All Grace.
A warning to our viewers, this next story is a bit sensitive and could be disturbing. A 4-year-old boy was found dead inside a washing machine 2 days after he was reported missing on May 26. That's in Las Piñas City. The body was already decomposing when it was found by was found inside the washing machine on Sunday. The suspect is the victim's own 15-year-old uncle. The suspect told authorities that the child accidentally fell from the second floor, and due to panic after seeing that the victim was no longer moving, the suspect placed his body inside the washing machine. The victim's grandfather, though, is not convinced that the child's death was an accident, as the suspect could have immediately asked for help. Las Piñas Police Chief Jamie Santos told 1PH Julius and Tintin that upon initial inspection, they found Nazi symbols like the swastika inside the suspect's room and photos of Jeffrey Dahmer, a notorious serial killer in the U.S.
Nalaman namin na itong suspect po ay avid fan nung napapanood na foreign film, yung Jeffrey Dahmer. Pagka meron siyang pinapatay, tinatago niya. Tapos nung nakita po namin yung kwarto, yung mismong bahay, may mga Nazi flag doon, tsaka yung Resident Evil.
If it is true that he was influenced by all these, figures in history, and yeah, it is alarming to everybody.
Because we all know how easily accessible these materials are. Open mo lang yung Google mo, your social media, Netflix, it's all in there.
Parental guidance.
I believe the suspect will be charged with murder. The age of criminal liability in the Philippines is 15.
But also, I think, how good is our juvenile system here? Do they get counseling? Do we... Diba? Ang daming tanong.
Pag 15 to 18, kailangan ng intervention tsaka rehabilitation. Kahit na criminally liable. So we will stay tuned to what happens to that case.
All right, we're going to pause for a quick break. But right after that, the recent incident of a passenger opening a plane door mid-flight in South Korea prompted conversations on airplane safety. What are the protocols if such incidents happen in a Philippine flight? We'll discuss that when the big story returns. Keep it here on One News.
Watching the big story here on One News. What else do we have tonight, girls?
Well, definitely a lot of disturbing stories, including this one. One of the most viral headlines over the weekend. A passenger of a South Korean Airlines opening an emergency exit door mid-flight.
Grabe yun, no? Kasi parang, bantay sarado yung pinto, di ba?
Oo.
Tsaka, I'm pretty sure may alarm siya. And also, yung air pressure, right? But I guess maraming ang specifics dito. Pa-descend na yung plane. So baka yung air pressure from the outside allowed him na to be able to open the door.
Pero sabi niya, he was mentally struggling.
And he was claustrophobic.
Naku, claustrophobic pa naman ako.
Sabi kasi nila, this was 700 feet. Nagde-descend na yung airplane, 700 feet off the ground daw. Sabi nila yung pressure daw sa loob at labas, medyo parehas na. Kaya sabi ito ni Sean, pwede
kinakabahan na. Ay, ayun, oo. Pero minsan iniisip ko nga yun, pag ako nakaupo doon, parang what if somebody, attempts that to open the door,
so,
what would happen?
Kailangan mo siyang i-take down.
No, I'm actually glad that, nobody fell off.
Yeah.
Diba? Kasi minsan yun yung iniisip mo eh. Sa pelikula kasi, diba, yun yung
nangyayari. Lumilipad sila from their chairs. Siguro naman, kaya kailangan na rin, importante talaga mag-seatbelt.
Tama,
nasa kotse tayo, aeroplano. Pero guys, paano kaya kung nagyari yan dito sa isang airline natin sa Pilipinas? How will our airlines handle such a situation?
So we asked the management of Philippines Air Asia about that, and they first reacted, of course, to this video. And they said such an act could be very dangerous to passengers. In fact, yung aksidente kanina injured 12 people.
Ayun.
Air Asia Philippines spokesperson Steve Dailison explains that opening exit doors mid-flight could cause a drop in oxygen inside the cabin, especially if the plane is flying at high altitudes. Opening doors will depressurize the cabin, and even if the aircraft is flying below the minimum sector altitude of 10,000 feet, passengers may experience discomfort. Protocols that could be done by pilots and flight attendants under such situations include the conduct of emergency landing. Dalisan says flight attendants are also trained to handle unruly passengers. And to prevent such situations, Dalisan says airlines are also very strict in designating front row seats to passengers.
At any point na you feel any discomfort during the flight, at tingin mo unbearable ito, pwede mong i-approach yung cabin crew, and based on their assessment, they will report to the pilot in command, and then gagawa ng decision yung pilot in command kung ano yung next best alternative para dun sa situation.
So next time, kung may katabi ako at mukhang naka-claustrophobic siya, chichikahin ko na
Pero
lang.
paano mo nga naman malalaman, di ba, kung responsible yung nakaupo doon?
Di ba? Parang isang tingin lang.
Oo,
Ganun.
diba?
Alam ko nga dito binibenta pa yung seats may extra bayad kasi maluwag yung leg room.
Oh, that's one thing to watch out for whenever you ride airplanes.
Yeah, konting lang, malasakit lang sa mga katabi natin, di ba? O ito, balikan natin yung BFFs in Malacanang na pinag-uusapan natin kanina, because here is our big picture for tonight. PBBM and VP Sara Duterte sharing this light moment in Cebu over the weekend. We all know the story about the president's cousin and the vice president's ally over at the lower house. And now it seems that Presi and his bestie are not at all affected. Well, what about you? We'd love to know your thoughts. If you have any caption ideas, our comment sections are always open. Just send them in and maybe even tag your BFFs.
Talaga, ako ma-affect ako, no? Kung dalawa namang close sa akin. Pero merong ibang pictures online, na naka-crop out si,
Talaga?
House Speaker Martin Romualdez.
Yung pala yun. Sige, hanapin ko yun mamaya. Sakto, tapos na tayo. That's it for the show tonight.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
This has been The Big Story. Thank you and good night.